A boy, just a boy, who looked up at the stars every single night and genuinely, completely, absolutely believed that he was destined to touch them. A boy whose mother whispered legends into his ears before he could even walk. A boy whose father was one of the most powerful warriors the ancient world had ever produced. And yet even that was not enough for him. Even that felt too small, too limited, too ordinary. Now imagine that boy growing up, growing into something that the world had never quite seen before and has never quite seen since. A mind so sharp it could cut through stone, a will so unbreakable it laughed at mountains, a hunger so vast, so magnificent, so beautifully terrifying, that it could only be satisfied by one thing and one thing alone. Everything. He wanted everything. Picture armies so massive they darkened the horizon like storm clouds. Battles so ferocious, so breathtakingly violent, so magnificently chaotic, that the earth itself seemed to shake beneath the weight of them. Elephants charging through walls of fire, soldiers screaming in a dozen different languages, blood soaking into the sand of deserts that had never before seen a conqueror dare to cross them. And at the center of it all, one man, one extraordinary, complicated, deeply magnetic, deeply flawed, absolutely electrifying man, riding forward on a jet black horse that no other human being on earth could tame. Always forward, always faster, always further than anyone thought possible. This man didn't just win battles. He redrew the map of the world. He marched his armies from the cold mountains of Macedonia all the way to the burning heat of India, across thousands of miles of empire, across cultures and civilizations and kingdoms that had stood for centuries, and he swallowed them whole, not just with violence, but with vision, with philosophy, with a breathtaking, almost impossible belief that the entire human race could somehow be united under one magnificent idea. Was he a hero? Was he a monster? Was he a genius so far ahead of his time that even today, thousands of years later, historians, scholars, and storytellers cannot fully agree on what to make of him? That is precisely what makes this story so utterly, so dangerously, so irresistibly compelling. One of Hollywood's most ambitious, most controversial, most visually stunning directors decided to take this story, this mountain of a story, and put it on the biggest screen possible. He assembled one of the most attractive, most talented casts ever gathered for a single film. He spent years researching, building, and crafting something that he believed would change the way the world understood one of history's greatest and most misunderstood figures. The result was explosive, controversial, breathtaking, and deeply, deeply unforgettable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hollywood Uncensored. And today we are diving headfirst into the legendary, the controversial, the absolutely magnificent world of Alexander, 2004. Now here is where this story gets even more irresistible, because the people who assembled to bring this ancient legend to life were themselves nothing short of legendary. Every single name attached to this film carried weight, carried history, carried a kind of magnetic, electrifying energy that made the entire world lean forward and pay attention. So let's meet them one by one, because every single one of them deserves your complete and total attention. If there is one director on the face of this earth who was born to tell a story this big, this complicated, this dangerously layered, it was Oliver Stone. This is a man who doesn't make movies. He makes events. He makes films that shake you, challenge you, infuriate you, and absolutely refuse to let you look away. From Platoon to JFK to Natural Born Killers. Stone has spent his entire career diving headfirst into stories that powerful people would prefer remained untold. He is fearless, he is controversial, he is one of the most attractively rebellious minds in the entire history of Hollywood. And Alexander, this impossible, magnificent, centuries-old story, was his most ambitious project yet. Stone spent years researching this film, reading ancient texts, consulting historians, traveling to the actual landscapes where these battles were fought. His dedication was total, absolute, and deeply compelling. Leading this extraordinary ensemble is Colin Farrell as Alexander himself. And what a choice. Farrell brings to Alexander something truly magnetic, a dangerous charm, a volcanic emotional intensity, and a physical presence that fills every single frame with crackling energy. His Alexander is not a comfortable hero. He is complicated, he is hungry, he is beautifully, fascinatingly human. Beside him stands Angelina Jolie as Olympias, Alexander's fiercely magnetic, deeply manipulative, and absolutely unforgettable mother. Jolie delivers a performance so electric, so richly layered, so attractively terrifying that she steals every single scene she inhabits. Her Olympias is a woman who shaped a conqueror and never once let him forget it. Val Kilmer plays Philip II, Alexander's powerful, battle-scarred, deeply complicated father. His performance is raw, gripping, and impossible to ignore. Jared Leto appears as Hephaestion, Alexander's closest companion, whose relationship with the great conqueror adds one of the film's most deeply human and controversially compelling dimensions. And Anthony Hopkins, the great, the magnificent, the utterly trustworthy Anthony Hopkins, frames the entire story as the aged historian Ptolemy, narrating Alexander's life with a voice so rich and so warm, it feels like history itself is speaking directly to you. The film was produced by Thomas Schuele, John Killick, Ian Smith, and Moritz Bormann, a powerhouse team with the resources, the vision, and the absolute determination to match Oliver Stone's enormous ambition frame for frame. Alexander roared into cinemas on November 24, 2004, arriving like a thunderclap, immediately sparking conversations, controversies, and debates that echoed loudly across the entire globe. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to experience is one of the most sweeping, most emotionally powerful, most magnificently ambitious stories ever committed to film. This is a tale of a boy who became a god in his own lifetime and paid an almost unbearable price for it. Every chapter of this story is more gripping, more electrifying, more deeply human than the last. Our story begins not on a battlefield, but in a palace, in the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, a rugged, fierce, beautifully wild land in northern Greece. A boy is born, and from the very first breath he draws, the world around him seems to whisper that he is different, that he is more. His mother is Olympias, one of the most magnetic, most fiercely compelling women in all of ancient history. She is passionate, deeply spiritual, and absolutely obsessed with her son's destiny. She fills his young mind with stories of Achilles and Hercules, legendary heroes of divine blood. And she plants inside him a seed of belief so powerful, so unshakable, that it will drive him to the very edges of the known world. His father is Philip II, King of Macedonia, brilliant military strategist, battle-hardened and deeply intimidating. Philip is everything a king should be: powerful, calculating, ruthlessly effective. And yet, his relationship with his son is one of the most attractively complicated, most emotionally loaded dynamics in the entire film. He pushes Alexander relentlessly. He challenges him. He doubts him. And paradoxically, that doubt becomes the fuel that powers Alexander's entire extraordinary life. Young Alexander's education is placed in the hands of none other than Aristotle, the greatest philosopher the ancient world ever produced. And watching this young, restless, magnificently curious mind absorb the wisdom of Aristotle is genuinely electrifying. Alexander doesn't just learn, he devours knowledge, geography, philosophy, medicine, military strategy. He absorbs it all with a hunger that is beautiful and slightly terrifying all at once. When Philip is assassinated, in circumstances shrouded in suspicion, intrigue, and deeply gripping mystery, Alexander is just 20 years old. 20. And yet he steps into the most powerful military position in the Greek world with a confidence so total, so magnificently unshakable, that even his most seasoned generals are left breathless. He moves fast, decisively, brilliantly. Within months, he has secured Macedonia, crushed rebellion in Greece, and turned his burning, restless gaze eastward, toward the vast, wealthy, seemingly unconquerable Persian Empire. What follows is one of the most attractively audacious military campaigns in all of human history. Alexander leads his army, the finest fighting force the ancient world has ever assembled, across the Hellespont and into Persian territory. Battle after battle, the results are the same. The Persians, despite their enormous numbers, despite their resources, despite their centuries of imperial dominance, cannot stop him. At the Battle of Issus, Alexander faces the Persian king Darius III directly and delivers a defeat so crushing, so complete, so magnificently executed that Darius flees the battlefield, abandoning even his own family in his desperate retreat. It is one of the most gripping military moments in history, and Oliver Stone puts you right in the heart of it. The chaos, the noise, the dust, the blood, the almost supernatural clarity with which Alexander moves through the storm of battle like he was born inside it. But Alexander doesn't stop. He never stops. Egypt falls before him, and its people welcome him not as a conqueror, but as a liberator, crowning him pharaoh and recognizing him as a son of the god Amun. It is a moment of breathtaking, deeply magnetic power. Then Persia itself, the heart of the greatest empire on earth, falls. The magnificent city of Persepolis is taken. Darius is dead, and by every reasonable measure of history, Alexander has already achieved more than any conqueror before him. But reason has never been Alexander's companion. He pushes further, into Central Asia, into Bactria, into lands so remote, so rugged, so magnificently hostile that his own generals begin to crack. His army, loyal beyond all rational explanation, follows him through mountains, deserts, and frozen passes that seem designed by nature itself to destroy human beings. And here, in the wild, beautiful, unforgiving landscape of the East, we meet Roxana, a fierce, attractively dangerous, deeply compelling Bactrian princess whom Alexander marries in a union that shocks his Macedonian companions, but reveals something deeply human about the conqueror, his genuine, fascinating belief in the unity of peoples. In India, at the Battle of the Hydaspes, Alexander faces something that genuinely tests him for the first time. War elephants, thousands of enemy soldiers. Terrain unlike anything his army has encountered. The battle is brutal, chaotic, and magnificently rendered on screen. One of the most visually stunning sequences in the entire film. His army wins, but at enormous cost. And afterward, his exhausted, battle-worn, deeply human soldiers do something they have never done before. They refuse to go further. Alexander, broken by their refusal, consumed by fever, haunted by the losses he has accumulated, turns back. He never reaches the end of the world he was searching for. He reaches Babylon instead. And there, in that ancient, golden, magnificently atmospheric city, at just 32 years old, the greatest conqueror the world has ever known draws his final breath. The cause? Still debated, still mysterious, still magnificently, frustratingly unresolved. Even today, here's where the story of Alexander transforms from simply magnificent into genuinely explosive. Because this film didn't just divide audiences, it divided nations, it ignited protests, it triggered legal threats, and it forced one of Hollywood's most powerful directors to literally rebuild his own movie. Not once, not twice, but multiple times, just to satisfy the outrage it unleashed across the world. So what exactly was so dangerous, so threatening, so deeply uncomfortable about a 2,000-year-old story? Buckle up, because the answers are as gripping as the film itself. Let's start where the fire burned hottest. And most revealingly, Iran moved to ban Alexander with a speed and a decisiveness that was genuinely breathtaking. And their reason? Deeply compelling, deeply telling, and absolutely impossible to ignore. Iranian authorities objected furiously to the film's portrayal of the Persian Empire, and specifically to the portrayal of Darius III and the Persian people as defeated, humiliated, and culturally inferior to the Greeks. For Iran, a nation with a deep, magnificent, fiercely proud connection to its ancient Persian heritage. Watching Hollywood present Persia as simply a great obstacle for a Greek hero to crush was not entertainment. It was an insult, a deliberate, provocative, culturally devastating insult. Persian civilization was not a backdrop. It was not a villain. It was one of the greatest, most attractively sophisticated, most magnificently advanced cultures the ancient world ever produced. And Iranian scholars, government officials, and ordinary citizens felt that Oliver Stone's film had casually, carelessly erased that greatness, reducing it to rubble beneath Alexander's sandals. The Cultural Heritage Organization of Iran went further than protest. They pursued legal action, filing a lawsuit that sent shockwaves through the international film community and made headlines across the globe. It was one of the most gripping, most dramatic responses to a Hollywood film in modern history. But Iran was not alone in its outrage, not even close. In Greece, the very homeland of Alexander himself, historians and scholars erupted in fury over the film's portrayal of Alexander's relationships. Alexander and his closest companion, Hephaestion, shared a romantic connection was met with fierce, loud, deeply passionate resistance from Greek audiences who felt their greatest national hero was being misrepresented. 10 Greek lawyers filed formal complaints. Greek historians published scathing attacks. The controversy became so loud, so attractively unavoidable, that it dominated European cultural conversations for months. In various Middle Eastern and Central Asian countries, regions that Alexander's armies actually conquered, the film was viewed with deep suspicion, quietly restricted, or given such limited distribution that it effectively disappeared from public view. And in America itself, conservative groups attacked the film's content with a ferocity that forced Oliver Stone onto the defensive almost immediately after release. Perhaps the most fascinating, most deeply compelling consequence of all this controversy was what it did to the film itself. Oliver Stone, refusing to surrender his vision but unable to ignore the storm, released not one, not two, but 3 different versions of Alexander over the following years. Each cut attempting to rebalance, refine, and reframe the story in response to the avalanche of criticism. It is one of the most attractively dramatic stories of artistic struggle in Hollywood history. Here is the part of the story that is perhaps the most surprising, the most fascinating, and the most deeply compelling of all. Because despite the controversy, despite the bans, despite the lawsuits and the protests and the furious historians, Alexander left a mark on global culture so deep, so permanent, so magnificently unavoidable, that it continues to shape conversations, inspire debates, and ignite imaginations to this very day. And that is the true measure of a film's power. Perhaps the single most attractive and electrifying cultural contribution Alexander made was this: it dragged ancient history back into the mainstream conversation with a force that no university lecture, no textbook, no documentary had managed to achieve in decades. Suddenly, ordinary people everywhere were Googling Alexander the Great. They were visiting libraries. They were watching documentaries. They were debating the nature of his genius, the truth of his relationships, the reality of his conquests. Bookstores reported dramatic spikes in sales of ancient history titles. Universities reported surging enrollment in classical studies courses. One controversial Hollywood film did what centuries of academic scholarship had struggled to do. It made ancient history irresistible to an entirely new generation. The Iranian reaction to Alexander, furious, passionate, legally dramatic, sparked something genuinely important and deeply necessary on the world stage. It forced a global conversation about whose history gets told, how it gets told, and who gets to tell it. For millions of people with Persian heritage, in Iran, in Afghanistan, in the wider diaspora scattered across the globe, the controversy around Alexander became a rallying point, a moment of magnificent cultural pride, a deeply compelling reminder that their ancient civilization deserved respect, accuracy, and genuine representation on the world's biggest screens. That conversation, attractively uncomfortable, absolutely necessary, continues today. And Alexander helped to start it. Alexander arrived at a deeply fascinating moment in Hollywood history, right alongside Gladiator, Troy, and 300, as part of a breathtaking wave of ancient world epics that completely redefine what big-budget historical cinema could look and feel like. Oliver Stone's film, despite its mixed critical reception, pushed the boundaries of epic storytelling in ways that filmmakers are still learning from today. Its willingness to portray its hero as complicated, flawed, and deeply human, rather than simply triumphant, set a new and attractively ambitious standard for biographical epic cinema. And perhaps most powerfully of all, Alexander refused to let the world settle into comfortable agreement about Alexander the Great himself. Was he a visionary, a tyrant, a liberator, a destroyer? The film didn't answer that question. It asked it, loudly, beautifully, and permanently. And the world is still answering. And so, here we are. At the end of a journey that began over 2,000 years ago on the dusty, magnificent plains of Macedonia, and somehow, impossibly, beautifully, still feels as urgent, as electric, as deeply alive as ever. Because that is the extraordinary, the genuinely breathtaking thing about Alexander, about this story, about this film. It refuses to age. It refuses to fade. It refuses to sit quietly in the corner of history and be forgotten. Just like the man himself. Think about what we have witnessed together across this incredible journey. A boy who was told he was destined for greatness, and who then went out and created that greatness with his own two hands, his own magnificent mind, and his own unbreakable, slightly terrifying will. A man who looked at the entire known world and said, "Not enough." A conqueror who genuinely, passionately believed that human beings, regardless of where they were born, what language they spoke, what gods they worshipped, could be united under one shared vision of civilization. Was he right? Was he wrong? Was he a hero or a villain or something so magnificently complicated that neither label will ever quite fit? That question, that deeply attractive, deeply compelling, endlessly fascinating question, is Alexander's greatest gift to history. And Oliver Stone's film, flawed, controversial, breathtakingly ambitious, had the courage to ask it on the biggest stage in the world. Here on Hollywood Uncensored, this is exactly what we live for. Films that don't play it safe, films that don't color inside the lines, films that walk straight into the fire of controversy and emerge, sometimes burned, sometimes battered, but always, always unforgettable. Alexander is that film. It was attacked from every direction, by critics, by historians, by governments, by lawyers, by entire nations. And yet here we are, 20 years later, still talking about it, still debating it, still finding new layers, new meanings, new reasons to be completely and utterly hooked by every frame of it. That is not failure. That is legacy. To every single one of you who has journeyed through this story with us today, thank you. Your curiosity, your passion, your hunger for the stories that the world tries to bury or ban or restrict, that is what makes this community so magnificently, so attractively, so powerfully alive. Remember, once the most dangerous thing in the world is not an army, it is not a weapon, it is not even a conqueror on a black horse riding toward the horizon. The most dangerous thing in the world is a story, told boldly, told honestly, told without fear, and we will never stop telling them. This is Hollywood Uncensored. Like, subscribe, and never stop asking the questions that make the powerful uncomfortable. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, stay uncensored.